Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you today, to be with you today, and to talk to you about stepping up the romance, to have a marriage with lasting love. So, I'm Deb Scamba, and I am so happy to be with you and to share with you what I know and um, excited to get to maybe even talk with a few of you. And uh, so I'm going to wait a few minutes. Up on top, I have the scripture, which for today is 1 Corinthians 13. And it talks about what love is. So it's patient, it's kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, and it's not proud. It doesn't dishonor others, and it's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered, and it keeps no records of wrong. So that's from 1 Corinthians. So I'm Deb Scamba. I am all about healthy marriages, before and after I do. And I've been doing this since 2010. I am all about building better marriages, I guess you would say. So is romance the same as love? So this is a topic that's close to my heart. It's about romance and how it can lead to lasting love. I myself am married 40 years to the man of my dreams. And we work on being romantic. I don't know if any of you have done this or you want to do this or you've experienced this, but marriage takes work, and it's a great way to bring in where you both could be living on the same page. So whether you're newlyweds, say like you're even pre-engaged, engaged, married, newlyweds, married for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, 40 years like myself. Romance is as important to a marriage as knowing your love language. So if any of you know what your love language is and you know your spouse's love language, that's a way that you can love on them by speaking their language, right? Romance is more of a spark that ignites your relationship, but it's also the fuel that keeps it the fires burning. So if you have any ideas, any thoughts as I go through talking about this, please put them in the chat, and I would be more than happy to even talk about it here. So we're going to talk about the importance of romance, why it's important, nurturing emotional intimacy, which is really important, keeping the flame alive, and communication and connection. So if you'd like to put in the chat where you're from, where you're watching me from, who you are. I may not see your actual name, but it'd be nice if you wanted to put that in the chat and where you're from. So I'm from New Jersey. I live in beautiful New Jersey. I'm not far from Pennsylvania, not far from the Jersey Shore. I'm not far from New York City. I am in the middle of it all, and I really do love it. I have a beautiful day today. I have two married children. One's on the West Coast, one's on the East Coast. I have 5 grandsons. And like I said, I'm married to the man of my dreams. And we were, we've gone through all seasons of life. And you can imagine what in 40 years, what we've experienced. And it is something that there are times when we were almost drawn apart or separated because there was a real attack on our marriage, on our family. But when we pulled ourselves out of it and said, okay, God, we're giving this to you, then we were able to work on ourselves, work on our marriage, and be drawn closer together. And that is what I'm hoping for you today, is that you will feel that you'll have strategies, tips on how you can stop, not the drift, I guess the drift, or start that romantic rekindling, so that you grow closer together. Thursday night's actually our date night. And so I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so you create a strong connection with consistency, and you infuse romance into your marriage, and the connection is a solid foundation that can weather the storms of life. We all go through storms and weather, right? It's not always so easy, but your marriage was meant to to weather every season that we have. And the Lord knew that when you were brought together. And so when there are two together, the other one helps. Okay. So First Corinthians is what's on the banner up on top. And you're strong, being strong emotional, a strong emotional connection. So what does that look like? A strong emotional connection. It looks like when you look at your spouse and you look to see how you can build them up. You can have a conversation where emotions are healthy and they are there to fuel love and not to fuel a um, a, a split in your relationship. So the first thing is romance is very important. Emotional consistency, intimacy is the heart and soul of a marriage. Emotional intimacy, where you're able to share your what you're feeling, what you're going through, because you've created a safe place to express your thoughts and feelings. And when you are able to do that, it brings you it gives you that bond. It brings you closer together. So expressing how you feel with your spouse, see, your feelings are just as valid as their feelings, or their feelings are just as valid as your feelings. And when your emotions, and it's not whether you're right or wrong, it's whether or not you're able to share this and to create an emotional connection that deepens over time. I found that to be true even in my own marriage, that there was parts of me that was emotionally immature, and I needed to look at that. I needed to bring Christ into that moment, and then look at it from Christ's point of view. When we're in it and we're going through it, it's much different, right, than it is if you step back and you look at it. And you can only do that in the safety of Christ. Keeping the fire, the flame alive is maintaining romance. And this can be very challenging, but it's possible. It involves keeping the flame of passion alive. So if you think of passion, I know that it's kind of like a buzzword now, like, oh, I'm so passionate about this, passionate about that. But have we put passion in our marriage on the back burner, thinking that it was something that it was um, left alone in marriage, and then the flame went out. So keep this in mind that you can rekindle the flame by having date nights, surprise date nights, rediscovering hobbies that you both like, doing things together, and practicing, I guess, tips, ideas with each other on what it is that you would like to do together. This is all about, being on the same page, living life on the same page. So romance in marriage that leads to lasting love is understanding the importance of romance in your marriage, nurturing emotional intimacy, keeping your emotions in check and saying, all right, does this build up my marriage or does this tear down my marriage? And if it builds up your marriage, then you keep going. But there are times when we need to look at ourselves and say, I am not handling this well, and I need to learn how to handle it better. And I'll give you some tips about that in just a minute. If you have any ideas, any things you'd like to share with me, I would love to hear it. Um, but here's the thing: romance is really about connection and communication. Communicating with each other so that you both are heard. So romance thrives when there's open and honest communication. If you're thinking of when you had that, maybe, right, so maybe there was a time when you thought about this before and you said, I remember when we did this, and how you felt about it. Well, as marriage goes on, if we don't keep these things in check, then it actually can just put the marriage on the back burner, on leaving it to just the fire to go out. But the thing is, too, is loving and respecting your spouse for who they are, and or who you think they can be, right? So when we have a heart that is centered on loving and respecting, and you are the first one that does this, you're the one that's bringing it into the marriage. You bring it in. And when you honor God, when you have these moments of trying to understand more than being understood, and you have effective communication, it brings you closer together. So to have that closeness, to have romance in your marriage, is it starting to look different than what you thought it would? It's not about wearing a red dress or dressing up. It is much more than that. It happens way before that. And focusing in on what it is for you both to do together. Here are some practical tips and action steps for you to take for your for romance, passion in your marriage. is to put the passion back into your marriage. Don't keep your marriage on the back burner instead, and put your passion somewhere else. It's time to take it off. Make your priorities. What's your priorities? Is it God first, having a Christ-centered marriage? Is it your spouse next? Your marriage next? So your relationship with God is about you and how you could show up as your best. The next one is how to have the marriage you've always dreamed of having, right? By putting your spouse next. Then it's your family, your children, your grandchildren, your extended family, maybe your aging parent, maybe it's, whatever. And it's maybe it's your career, maybe it's your uh, friends. Um, but when you put the passion back where it belongs, like seeking the word of God and saying, okay, Lord, what do I need to let go of so that I could be more? You could be more, I could be less. So here's tip number 1. Effective communication is the cornerstone of a strong marriage. And practicing active listening expresses your thoughts and feelings openly. And now you get to be a receptive to your spouse's open and honest communication. So encourage dialogue that fosters understanding and empathy, even during challenging conversations. Romance is walking together. It is sharing moments. It's creating memories. It's drawing closer and closer together, heart to heart, cheek to cheek. Avoid interrupting and formulating responses, right? Stop thinking you know what your spouse is going to say. Listen to your spouse and listen with your eyes, listen with your body. Be attentive and validate their feelings. Doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean that they're right, you're wrong. It just means that you care enough to be in the moment with them. To say, I'm all in. Now, if your mind is saying to you, yeah, but keep that one foot out, I want you to question whether or not that foot that's ready to step out of the marriage because you feel like there is no romance, there is none of this. I want you to know that it's a lie from the enemy. And that if you want romance in your relationship, be the one who does it. Be the change that you want to see. That's what it is. Quality time together. So that's our second tip. Open expression. I want you to think about making intentional efforts to be together, to spend quality time together, the kind where you are focused on each other and not on everything else. Dedicate times for date nights, shared hobbies, like I said before, and simply just unwinding together. My man likes to watch TV, and so we sit together, we watch TV. It is. We both have long days. We both don't mind unwinding, but as long as we're together, that's what matters. All right. So emotional connection and keeping the romance alive is what these moments are all about. I want you to think about expressing your thoughts, feelings, and concerns openly and honestly. The kind of concerns that says, I feel, not you did, right? That is a romance killer. Create a safe place where you both can speak. So maybe it's not a good idea to do it, with the TV on, I would say, or anything like that. Use I statements and be emotionally supportive for each other. Dedicated date nights, awesome idea. Like I said, we're having ours tonight, and it's not all fanfare. They're very, very simple, but they need to be scheduled. They need to be important to you because romance is important to your date night. So sometimes we like to tease and say, yeah, we know it must be date night. We're going to Home Depot. Or sometimes for me, like Home Goods, right? So, but it's uninterrupted time together. It's alone in the car, time to talk. Sometimes we swim together. We love doing that. So choose activities that you both enjoy and promote bonding. Times when you can talk and respect and appreciate each other, treat each other with respect, and acknowledge and express gratitude for positive qualities and efforts that your spouse makes. So please and thank you goes a long way. Gratitude, this is very good. And it may not be the best thing you've ever eaten, but and maybe you both, are better off maybe going out for dinner once a week, or just appreciate all the simple little things that you do for each other. Support your spouse in the marriage. And if your spouse likes to cook for you, appreciate the time and effort that it took to do that. So if you have shared hobbies together, explore hobbies and interests that you both like to do. I hope you're getting the idea that romance is those little things, consistent things that are done each and every day. Be each other's cheerleaders. Encourage each other. Not only be grateful for each other and to show appreciation, but be each other's cheerleader. Think about what you say to each other. Think about how you treat each other. Think about what it's like, when you're out in public together. My husband loves to open the door for me of the car, or if we walk into a building. And there were times at the beginning of this, I would just do it. Sometimes I just walk faster than him, and but I'll tell you, it is a wonderful thing that he does that for me. I like it, and I actually expect it. It's wonderful. So, shared hobbies, it could be as simple and cooking together. I was talking to somebody today who said that her man likes being in the kitchen and cooking. He feels like it's a very sexy thing to do. Why not? Right? I feel that when I cook for others, it's me loving on them. And I love that. And be a source of encouragement, comfort, and reassurance. Sometimes your spouse just needs you to listen. That's it. Right? Not have all the answers and not think that you have to solve every problem, but just to listen. So now it's your turn. Do you have any questions for me? Any shared experiences? You can put them in the comments. I put my checklist in the comments in the chat to see if maybe you would like to get my Better Marriage checklist. So I just want to say thank you for joining me today, and to thinking that romance is something that is important. That's what my prayer for you today is that you see that it's the little things that you do on a consistently and intentionally that allows for your relationship to be more loving, respectful, grateful, thankful. Be willing to listen more than talk. To now say, I'm going to be more loving so that we can get closer together. So that's all I have for you today. This is Romance in Marriage that Leads to Lasting Love. And I would love it if you commented in the chat, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.